It looked like a harmless parcel, a fitness supplement from the US, one of thousands arriving daily at Stansted Airport. The label said premium weight loss shake. The barcode was clean. The paperwork checked out. But when customs opened it, they didn't find protein powder. They found poison. And what started as one suspicious box would unravel the most quietly sophisticated drug empire Nottingham had ever seen, led not by a gangster but by a respected local gym coach. This is the crime that hid in plain sight, and the silence that nearly let it grow unchecked. In a gym tucked between corner shops and bus stops in Nottingham, a local coach named Devonte James was changing lives. He trained kids who needed discipline, mentored teens at risk of the streets, and even helped raise funds for youth programs. Quiet, respectable, focused. To everyone around him, he was the kind of man you'd want your son to train with. But behind the hand wraps and motivation speeches, James was building something else. Not just a side hustle but a full-scale drug trafficking network. The parcels? He didn't touch them. The money? Rarely seen in his name. The drugs? Never once caught with them. And that's what made it work. From the outside, Devonte James was a community role model. But when investigators began piecing things together, they discovered that the very gym where young people learned to box was the command center of a £7 million drug empire. And he didn't do it alone. Devonte James wasn't a lone operator. Around him was a team of 8 others. None of them thugs, none of them flashy. Just quiet, reliable people with ordinary lives and ordinary jobs. There was Jesse Colo, the quiet office worker with a desk job at a pharmaceutical firm. To his bosses, he was just another face in the system. But from behind that desk, Jesse was doing something few criminals ever get access to. He was printing legitimate courier labels from real pharmaceutical accounts. Labels that could make a kilo of meth look like fitness powder. Then came Rakeem Thomas and Lamar Taylor, the movers. Logistics. They organized drop-offs, picked up parcels, tracked movements, made sure nothing stayed in one place for too long. Jabari Smith, Taisha Chalmers, and Bry Hadjman? They were the network builders. Their role was simple but vital. Find addresses. Recruit locals. Get someone, anyone, to agree to accept a parcel. A few £100, a smile, a favor. That was the sell. To neighbors, these were just people getting a delivery. But in truth, their homes were turning into unwitting trafficking points. It wasn't random. It was rotation. No address used too often. No names repeated. Everything designed to look ordinary. And at the center, James, never carrying the product, never collecting the money, but coordinating the system with the precision of a supply chain CEO. The drugs came in as shakes, furniture, even baby supplies. They moved silently, constantly, and most importantly, legally. No ski masks. No handoffs in alleyways. Just parcels, labels, quiet doors. It was a criminal enterprise built on 3 things: credibility, caution, and control. And for a while, it worked. This wasn't a gang. It was a system. What Devonte James built didn't operate like a street crew. It ran more like a logistics startup. There were shipments. There were drop points. There were collections. Schedules were tight. Addresses rotated. No one handled too much at once. Each person had one job, never more. That's how mistakes are avoided. Capital came in quietly, wired from offshore contacts and laundered through luxury purchases. Cash watches, flights, hotel stays. That capital funded the imports. U.S. parcels filled with methamphetamine and cannabis, packaged to look like fitness products or home goods. Then came distribution. Parcels split, repacked, and moved again across the UK using real couriers and real addresses. And when the profits landed, they were laundered, not through shady corners but through designer stores, crypto wallets, and flashy vacations. No weapons. No intimidation. No chaos. Just a calm, calculated system where drugs move through the UK the same way online shopping does. If Amazon shipped poison, it would look like this. From a distance, nothing looked wrong. But inside the machine, every cog was turning. By now, the police knew this wasn't just a local crew flipping street drugs. What they were looking at was an international operation. The meth didn't come from local labs. It came from California, produced in US-based facilities, industrial grade, crystal pure, and vacuum sealed for transatlantic shipment. But Devonte James didn't fund those shipments alone. Behind him, quietly and carefully, stood a man police never named in court, a Middle Eastern financier, believed to be the source of both capital and connection. He didn't ship parcels or send messages. He moved money. He opened doors. And he gave James something street dealers rarely have: scale. While meth and cannabis flowed into the UK, another product moved out: cocaine. At least one shipment was traced from London to Australia, using the exact same infrastructure: Jesse Colo's fake shipping labels, real courier accounts, and trusted addresses. It was a two-way pipeline stretching from Nottingham to the other side of the world. The profits? Cleaned with modern methods. Crypto wallets, Monero and USDT. Cash flights to Dubai and Central America. Luxury goods paid for up front, never traced back. From street level, this looked like a group of friends taking holidays and buying trainers. But from above, it was clear. This wasn't crime of opportunity, it was crime by design. A network built to be invisible. And until one parcel slipped through, it very nearly was. Every empire has a backer. Devonte James may have run the streets, but someone else bankrolled the storm. Police never revealed his name. He never appeared in court. No arrest. No headline. But across multiple reports, surveillance logs, and intercepted messages, one shadow kept appearing. A Middle Eastern-based financier, the money behind the machinery. He didn't move parcels. He didn't text instructions. But without him, the entire system would have collapsed before it ever began. And that was the genius: distance, offshore, protected. Probably operating through shell import companies, possibly even tied to legitimate businesses. He stayed off the radar, and likely he's still active. Authorities hinted at bigger networks, larger rings, and international webs that stretched beyond UK borders. But in this case there was no warrant, no trial, no mugshot. Just a name on a sealed file, and a fortune that never touched the ground. You can't convict a ghost. And that ghost funded one of the most sophisticated drug pipelines the UK has ever seen. For over a year the system ran like clockwork. Parcels came in. Labels looked real. Nothing tripped the alarms. Then one box changed everything. In May 2023, a package arrived at Stansted Airport. On the surface, it looked like all the others. Premium weight loss shake, printed across the front. A clean barcode. A matching invoice. But buried deep in the tracking data, a problem. The same tracking number had already been used on another shipment. A glitch. A tiny one. But enough. Border Force flagged it. They opened the box. Inside, nearly a kilo of methamphetamine and 2 kilos of compressed cannabis, all expertly packed to look like nutrition powder. But the real discovery wasn't just what was inside the parcel. It was what that parcel led to. The duplicate code triggered a backtrack through the courier system. Investigators began cross-referencing addresses, checking label patterns, tracing IPs linked to the shipping accounts. And the more they looked, the more they found. Similar parcels. Similar accounts. Different names. Different drop points. One box opened the door to dozens of others. It was the first crack in what had looked like an impenetrable operation. And from that moment forward, the silence was broken. All it took was one duplicate label, and the entire empire began to unravel. Once the mistake was made, police didn't pounce. They watched. What followed was one of Nottinghamshire's most patient investigations, a covert effort called Operation Continental. Border Force had flagged the first parcel. But instead of shutting it all down, officers decided to follow the thread backward, one label at a time. Over the next few months they quietly mapped over 70 addresses. Residential flats. Small houses. A barber's shop. Each location had received at least one suspicious delivery. But none of them were raided. Not yet. Instead, police went dark, installing cameras, logging timestamps, cross-checking delivery logs with mobile location data. The parcels kept coming, evolving in disguise. What once looked like weight loss powder soon turned into baby boxes, flat-packed furniture, even motorcycle helmets. Every shipment looked legitimate. Every label was clean. On the surface there was no chaos, no violence, no panic. But behind the scenes the surveillance was relentless. Officers were syncing phone data to delivery timestamps, matching names to CCTV footage, even connecting Instagram posts to specific drop dates. Because while the parcels were low-key, the people behind them weren't. Devonte James, once the quiet boxing coach, had started showing off. Luxury watches, stacks of cash, first-class holidays, 1,200-pound trainers, photos with geotags, captions dripping with bravado. And he wasn't the only one. His team mirrored the same lifestyle: designer shopping, expensive trips, luxury rentals. What they didn't realize was this: their feeds were becoming evidence. Every photo was a clue. Every caption was a timestamp. Every flash of wealth was a thread waiting to be pulled. Operation Continental wasn't just tracking a network. It was building a timeline. And when it was done, every name, every parcel, and every drop address would be accounted for. It's one thing to run a silent network. It's another to track it when no one talks. But that's exactly what Nottinghamshire police did. No one flipped at first. No one sent a text. No fingerprints. Just patterns and patience. Officers began with parcel weight data, tracking anomalies across shipments that appeared identical on paper but carried different internal densities. Then came the weighable serial numbers, logged, compared, and sorted. Dozens of them shared the same print structure, the same barcode format, the same courier account. Still no names. No direct links. So they widened the net. CCTV footage from neighborhoods showed repeat faces. Men collecting boxes in different clothes in different cars at different addresses. Dash cams captured quiet pickups. A figure jogging up to a doorstep. A flash of tape. Then gone. With those visuals, investigators pulled mobile phone data. They didn't need text messages. They didn't need calls. They synced encrypted messaging app usage with parcel deliveries. Phones pinged in specific zones at specific times, the same zones where the parcels were signed for. Slowly, a network emerged. Digital fingerprints where human ones didn't exist. And then, one break. A lower-level courier, pulled in for questioning, broke under pressure. A single confession. A few names. A handful of addresses. That opened the gates. Within weeks, the quiet surveillance turned into a full-scale, mapped operation. No texts. No fingerprints. Just data and discipline. And from that data, the empire collapsed. It had taken 18 months, 70 addresses, thousands of parcel logs. But by late November 2024, Operation Continental was ready to strike. Nottinghamshire police had their map. They had the names. They had the proof. The takedown had to be fast and absolute. In a synchronized sweep across Nottingham and surrounding towns, officers moved in. Devonte James was arrested mid-class. The gym was full. Students were warming up. He looked at the officers. Silent. No fight. As if he'd been waiting for this moment. At the same time, in a quiet office outside London, Jesse Colo was at his desk, printing another set of forged courier labels. He never saw it coming. Police walked in, seized his laptop mid-command. The very system that masked millions of pounds in drugs, now laid bare. Across Nottinghamshire, every major drop house was hit. Officers broke through doors at homes in Sherwood, Top Valley, Bilborough, Clipstone, and Basford. They recovered phones, receipts, forged labels, and bundles of cash, still wrapped. Digital evidence matched delivery dates. Bank cards matched photos posted online. No dramatics. No shootouts. Just suspects let out in silence, as the logistics empire they built was dismantled room by room. Some looked confused. Some looked hollow. But it was done. In a single coordinated sweep, the entire operation collapsed. From gym floors to desktop printers, the game was over. By May 2025, the silence of the streets had given way to the echo of courtroom footsteps. At Nottingham Crown Court, 9 people stood in front of a judge, no longer mentors, couriers, or office workers, but convicted criminals. The charges were clear. Conspiracy to import and distribute Class A and B drugs across the UK. The evidence was airtight. Parcel logs, delivery maps, surveillance footage, photos of holidays, forged labels, encrypted app logs. And though many had no previous criminal records, the scale couldn't be ignored. Judge Stephen Copeland called the network a sophisticated, sustained, and structured enterprise. He made it clear. Reputation could not outweigh reality. Devonte James, 29, the ringleader, sentenced to 17 years. Rakeem Thomas, key in distribution, 11 years and 6 months. Lamar Taylor, logistics, 7 years and 6 months. Jesse Colo, the man behind the fake labels, 5 years and 4 months. Others, like Cameron Raymond, Levante Cameron, Taisha Chalmers, Bry Hadjman, and Jabari Smith, received shorter prison terms or community orders depending on their roles. In total, over 50 years of prison time was handed out. The court also invoked the Proceeds of Crime Act, seizing luxury watches, cash, vehicles, and crypto accounts traced to the drug money. It wasn't just a conviction. It was a statement that even clean records and quiet fronts couldn't protect a criminal empire when the facade breaks. Devonte James wasn't just the architect of a drug empire. He was a mentor, a boxing coach, a familiar face in the community. To parents, he was a role model. To teenagers, a protector. But beneath that calm surface, he was something else entirely. A man who built a pipeline of poison through quiet streets and trusted faces. How do those two versions of the same man exist? Was it greed? The taste of easy money? Was it opportunity, access to labels, loopholes, and a network too tempting to ignore? Or was it something darker? A belief that if you wear the right mask long enough, no one will ever dare to look behind it? Because in the end, that mask worked, for years. Devonte didn't need to intimidate anyone. He earned trust. He played clean. And while he taught discipline in the ring, he built devastation outside it. That's the psychology of deception. The more you protect, the less anyone suspects. When you're the role model, no one looks behind the mask. There were no guns, no ski masks, no street warfare. Just spreadsheets, forged invoices, and parcels that moved like ordinary deliveries. The Devonte James empire didn't rise through violence. It rose through silence. Through couriers who didn't ask questions. Through neighbors who signed for boxes without blinking. Through staff who printed labels and never once looked too close. This wasn't just a story of crime, it was a study in complicity. Because the truth is, this empire was built with help. Not loud help. Not armed help. But the quiet kind. The kind that says, "It's not my problem." And in that silence, a poison flowed. Over 7 million pounds of meth. Dozens of homes used. A community pulled into something they didn't fully see, or chose not to. Now the empire has fallen. The leader is behind bars. The logistics have collapsed. But here's the real question. How many more networks are out there, built on silence just like this one? Hidden behind polite smiles. Behind gym walls. Behind clean invoices and trusted names. Because sometimes the most dangerous crimes don't make a sound. So now that you've seen how it all unfolded, let's talk. Do you think the sentences were enough? Was justice served? Or did some walk away too easily? And here's a deeper question. What scares you more, a man with a gun? Or a man with a label printer, a courier account, and a polite smile? How many harmless-looking parcels pass your street every day? And how many might be hiding something darker? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel, as this would help the algorithm to push this video to more people who need to see this video, as we together win the war against drugs. And scan push, because this case is over. But there's always another waiting to be uncovered.